Warm welcome. This is Markus Termin at the 6th of April 2025. As I'm talking, the moon is in the sign of Leo, while the sun is in the sign of Aries. This is what I call the ground base. This gives the perfect situation for a good day, because this is both fire signs being in trine to each other. Now, is it all uncomplicated? Not really. So let's unpack this. One of the most important aspects today for me is the trine in between Mars in the sign of Cancer and this Pisces stellium, which includes Saturn in the sign of Pisces. Now let's have a look at the picture, because this is very interesting. As you can see, those are the Piscean forces right now. It's Mercury retrograde, almost at a standstill. He will change direction tomorrow. We have Venus retrograde. She takes a little longer until the 17th of April. And we have Saturn in the sign of Pisces, also retrograde around the North Node. And it's always where it's at, around the North Node. Now, what is that? Let me break this up for you. All those retrograde planets in Pisces have a retro perspective. Now, if you go on the so-called informational Kybernetics, you might easily find that there's a whole lot of ideas out there with perspective. Just to pick out one example is the newly discovered structure beneath the pyramids, which is being debunked and then again not debunked, because the debunking is fake news and anything like that. Obviously, they are having a difficulty in accepting that, and it's a new scientific method that really works pretty good, and they put some examples for it out there for discovering the caves in Gran Sasso and things like that. So this is pretty interesting and very stable, but it's just one example of retrogradeness in the sign of Pisces. Why Pisces? Because there's a remembrance of the Great Flood, for instance. You know, this is where all the retrograde energy tends to find knowledge about how did mankind develop, survive, what really happened in the past. This is the very focus that a lot of people are on out there. At the same time, the ruler of Pisces, which is, as you know, Neptune, and the older ruler is Jupiter in Gemini. So the main ruler of Pisces, which is Neptune, is in the sign of Aries. And while trying to have a jump into the future with Aries, now let me interrupt myself. Aries is a sign for itself that has a tendency of looking back at the same time. This is a paradox. If you look at the old figures of the Aries symbol, you will find a jumping Aries animal which have look back unnaturally, because it's jumping and it's not looking ahead, but it has a religio, we say. It has a tendency to look back. It's jumping, but at the same time it's looking back. And this is exactly the situation we are into, and this is underlined by all the Piscean forces. Now, never forget what is in Pisces. Mercury and Venus pulls the energy of Gemini and Virgo into Pisces, because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini and Virgo. And in addition of that, it also takes the energy from Taurus and Libra to Pisces. because Venus is the ruler of Libra and she's the ruler of Taurus just as well. So we have the combination of 5 signs, including Pisces, that go there with the North Node, go there to discover the new in the eternal worlds, in the cosmos out there. Now, having said that, there's also 2 patterns to watch. One pattern is for those who completely live in the so-called, see this is the Leo moon out there. I'm going to say something about that pretty soon. One pattern is for those who are, let me put it that way, the brainwashed. We are all brainwashed to a certain degree, but there's a whole lot of people who live in a complete dream world, in a brainwashed world. They are driven from here to there. They believe anything that comes from the media or anything that comes from the off media or whatever. This is actually the brainwash world, and this brainwash world is just right now going crazy on additional information, which is about, as I mentioned before, Egypt. This is about free energy. This is about new machines popping out with unbelievable skills. Half of them is AI, or more of half of them is AI simulation, which doesn't exist at all. So, and some of it exists, but in the background and anything like that. And there's a whole lot of things happening here for those questioning the jump of Neptune into the sign of Aries. This is clearly for those who observe the circumstances around ourselves to be seen. There is a major change and shift towards the interest of especially what happened before and during the flood. The big flood that was way back in ancient years, Noah's Ark and things like that. So this is really happening. And then the other position, which is for me the more important thing, is hidden behind that. It's covered up behind the world of simulation. And this is the real world. This is the world of nature, the world of well-being, the world of the real universe, the world of love and empathy. This is what we can't handle in so-called metaphysics, split reality. A lot of people are talking about duality. That is a difficult topic, but behind that there is real world, there is nature, and this nature is to be covered by the other world. This is just like porn is just the cover-up of love, tourism is just the cover-up of traveling and getting to know people. We are all, to a certain extent, forced into the world of simulation. Now it is essential for the use of astrology that you get an idea of those two world system and get a hold on the real world of nature, which is actually your body, your self-understanding, your soul, your self-feeling. And sorry to say that, but it's very, very hard to get this in the internet. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very, very hard to get. Coming closer to this thing, the moon and the sun in fire signs, you see that the moon is in the sign of Leo. Leo again is being ruled by the sun. The sun again is being ruled by Mars, because Mars is the ruler of Aries, and Mars again is still in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is being ruled by the moon, and there it has a circle. So this is moon and sun being in the circle of astrological meaning, And when we break it down, it all goes back to the constructive aspect in between Mars in the sign of Cancer, trying to open up the room with emphasis, with the ability of feeling what the others can feel too, and Saturn in the sign of Pisces, trying to build a bridge there. Never forget, the Pope is called the great bridge builder. This is Pisces. I'm not talking about the Pope actually, but Pisces is the sign of building bridges into the eternal unknown. This is very mystical, but mystical is higher on reality than physical reality itself. And if you have one of those scientists being positioned at a seat, and you have like a 2 hours time of giving him arguments with straight and deep knowledge, you will never convince him, but you'll be able to push him in his corner and make him thinking. Okay, is that all? No, there's one aspect we need to take care of. This is going to be the opposition in between Mars and Pluto coming up this afternoon. Moon and Pluto. Mars is close to the opposition and he plays a role, but he's not really in opposition because he has not changed signs yet. It's the Moon and Pluto. So while the Moon is in lively Leo, the Moon in Leo really loves to live, he loves to eat life in full progression, in big anything, He's opposing the idea of freedom, which is urgently knocking on the doors from outside to liberalize communities and society and countries and the world in general. Because Leo is the sign of individual action. It's not a sign of community. And so this is what we need to balance out, the idea of community and the idea of individual action. All right, so far. If you want to know how this works out in your personal chart, just give the genius German astrologer a mail. Use this mail address, mind the DE at the end, get in contact, and we see how we will come along. Thank you very much for listening on this 6th of April 2025.